Critical thinking and problem solving are at the heart of effective strategic thinking. In this lesson, we'll explore how to use these skills to make better decisions, especially in complex or fast-changing environments. You'll learn how critical thinking helps you challenge assumptions, identify root causes, and evaluate options logically. We'll also examine structured approaches to solving problems strategically, not just reactively. By the end of this session, you'll have tools and mindsets that empower you to see issues clearly and make choices confidently. Let's start by defining critical thinking in a strategic context. Critical thinking is the ability to objectively analyze facts, uncover relationships, and evaluate arguments without letting personal bias, assumptions, or emotions cloud judgment. When leaders use critical thinking, they're not just making decisions, they're questioning the quality of the data, the relevance of the narrative, and the logic of each option. In strategy, this means constantly asking, is what we believe actually true? And is what we're planning the best path forward? One hallmark of critical thinking is asking better questions. Instead of leaping to solutions, critical thinkers step back and ask why and what if. For example, if customer retention drops, a reactive manager might quickly launch a new loyalty program. But a strategic thinker might first question whether churn is due to customer experience, pricing, or even external market shifts. Better questions help pinpoint the real issue, preventing misaligned fixes. Sometimes we assume the first explanation or answer we hear must be right. But in critical thinking, alternatives must be explored, even unpopular ones. This involves suspending knee-jerk judgment and examining the situation from multiple angles. For instance, if employee engagement is low, the easy answer might be workload. But what if it's really a culture of poor recognition or unclear goals? Broadening the lens opens up more effective strategic responses. A useful technique for critical reflection is the 5 whys. Invented by Toyota, it involves asking why 5 times to dig deeper into a symptom. For example, why were sales down last quarter? Because fewer products were shipped. Why? Because we didn't meet production targets. Keep going. Often, by the 5th why, you uncover a root cause like supply chain disruption or poor forecasting, far from the original surface-level problem. Let's now turn to strategic problem solving. While thinking critically helps frame the issue, solving it requires structure. Strategic problems are often not urgent, but they are important and involve multiple variables. A systematic approach helps avoid wasting time or resources chasing the wrong solutions. Models like the IDEAL framework, identify, define, explore, act, and learn, can guide leaders through the process thoughtfully. The IDEAL model begins with identifying the problem, not the symptom. Many organizations confuse unusual outcomes with root issues. For example, if online product returns increase, that's a symptom. The real issue might be poor product descriptions, mismanaged expectations, or quality control lapses. Properly identifying the challenge sets up smarter solutions. Defining the problem clearly means translating it into something solvable. That often involves quantifying it. Let's say your team is missing project deadlines. Vague definitions like team is disorganized don't help. A sharper definition might be project deadlines slipped on 3 of 5 client deliverables in the past quarter due to unclear timelines. A precise definition creates alignment and focus. Next comes exploring possible solutions. This is the time to generate options before choosing one. Brainstorming, competitor research, or data mining can help. For example, if your logistics costs are rising, you might explore route optimization, renegotiation of carrier contracts, or changes to warehouse locations. Critical thinkers look beyond the obvious, or the easiest, to find what's truly effective. Acting is next, but with strategic foresight. Before implementing, ask, what are the risks? What resources are required? What consequences might follow? A small pilot or prototype can minimize risk. For example, if you want to introduce AI-based customer service, testing it with one department can reveal insights before scaling it company-wide. The final step, learning, is where strategy really takes shape. Strategically minded leaders measure what worked, examine what didn't, and ask, what can we apply moving forward? This learning loop is foundational to continuous improvement. Even if a solution didn't fully work, the process adds value if it teaches you something vital for next time. Now let's discuss the role of assumptions. We all work with assumptions. It's how we get things done without needing 100% proof. But untested assumptions can lead strategic plans off course. A leader assuming a competitor will never enter a niche is taking a huge risk. Critical thinking requires us to surface assumptions, document them, and whenever possible, test them against data or feedback. One common strategic pitfall is confirmation bias, where we favor information that supports what we already believe. For instance, you might focus only on feedback from loyal customers while ignoring complaints. Strategic thinkers actively seek disconfirming data. They ask, what am I missing? Who sees this differently? Are we too invested in a flawed idea? Another powerful tool is reframing the problem. Reframing helps you spot new opportunities by shifting your perspective. For example, instead of asking, how can we increase ad clicks? A reframed version might be, why are current users not finding value in the offer? This subtle shift can lead away from spending more on ads and towards strengthening your core proposition. Mental models can support strategic thinking. These are simplified ways of understanding the world based on systems, economics, or human behavior. One useful model is first-order versus second-order thinking. First-order thinking focuses on the immediate result. Second-order thinking anticipates the knock-on effects. For example, offering deep discounts may boost short-term sales, but train customers to always wait for a sale. Another model is inversion, solving problems by thinking in reverse. Instead of asking, how can we succeed, you ask, how could we make this fail? In team planning, leaders might ask, if this project completely failed, what would be the reasons? This approach helps surface risks early, before they become real problems. Strategic decisions often happen under uncertainty. In these environments, perfect information isn't available. Critical thinking doesn't aim for certainty, but clarity. It's about being comfortable making the best possible decision given limited information, while clearly stating what's unknown and keeping an eye on how to adapt later. When working with teams, encouraging diverse viewpoints boosts strategic quality. People from different departments, backgrounds, or roles often see blind spots others miss. As a leader, asking for dissenting opinions, especially from those closest to the problem, creates a richer pool of insights. It also builds team buy-in as people feel heard and valued. Let's take a quick example. Imagine your company's market share is shrinking. A purely data-driven analysis might suggest cutting prices, but a critical thinking approach might include interviewing lost customers, examining complaint patterns, looking at emerging competitors, or even probing internal morale. Strategic solutions often come from synthesizing both hard data and human insight. Leadership effectiveness rests less on always having the answer and more on knowing how to think through unfamiliar situations. Critical thinking and strategic problem solving give you exactly that capability. It's what allows teams to move from reactive firefighting to proactive decision-making, and from isolated tactics to cohesive long-term strategy. To wrap up, strategic thinking demands more than smart ideas. It requires disciplined thinking. Grounded in observation, reflection, analysis, and structured action, critical thinking and problem solving create the foundation for every sound strategy. In our next lesson, we'll look at scenario planning and risk management, skills that help you stay ahead even when the future is unclear.